Hi, my name is Beth Sale, and this is Creating an Inclusive Workplace for Autistic Employees. I'm a grad student at UNCW majoring in environmental education and also obtaining a GIS certificate. And I am autistic. In 2023, I was clinically diagnosed with a level 1 autism, formerly known as Asperger's syndrome. This was following years of not knowing what was wrong with me, why I didn't fit in, why I couldn't just act like other people or meet the milestones they met. I worked for over a decade before knowing I was autistic, and pretending someone I wasn't led to burnout and losing my job a lot of times. My diagnosis changed my life and allowed me to live more authentically and succeed in ways that I couldn't before. Because of my autism, I may not make eye contact during this presentation or speak in a cadence or tone that is considered typical or normal, and that is perfectly okay. I want you to challenge yourself to change your expectations of what you think a professional presenter should sound like. This is, after all, a presentation on including autistic folks, and inclusion means meeting autistic people where they are. So, autism spectrum disorder is a neurological disability that impacts emotional and social interactions, relationships, and reading social cues. Because of the increasing information about autism in recent years, there's a growing movement for autism advocacy that aims for acceptance rather than assimilation. Employment is important to most folks' lives, contributing positively to their health and welfare. Most autistic adults desire employment, but unemployment rates for autistic adults remain extremely high. Only 21% of autistic adults in the UK are employed and 38% in Australia. Across the board, they're roughly 3 times as likely to be unemployed as their allistic or non-autistic counterparts. They're also far less likely to be employed consistently over time. It is worth it for companies to hire autistic employees. McKinsey and Company's report of over 1,000 corporations found that companies with higher rates of diversity had higher profitability than other companies. Employees in companies with DEI initiatives were also more likely to feel heard and valued and trust their employer more. While most of these DEI initiatives focus on gender and race, disability inclusion is a new frontier in DEI initiatives. Creating a workplace that's supportive of autistic employees can improve employee morale and contribute to a positive company culture. As an employer, hiring autistic employees can address societal inequities and close their employment gap. There's a lot of misconceptions about autistic folks that contribute to negative perceptions of them, and some of them begin as early as childhood. A lot of these misconceptions come from exaggerated media stereotypes. So let's see if you've heard some of these. Autistic people lack empathy. They're difficult or antisocial. They don't want to work with others. They're socially awkward and can't be part of a group. These myths fuel stigma and prevent inclusion. They're harmful to autistic adults and can lead to isolation, social exclusion, and depression. So, what should you do instead? Don't make assumptions based on facial expressions and tone. If you have a question about the meaning of an autistic employee's expression or tone, just ask. They'll probably value your direct communication. Understand the burden that comes with autistic masking. Be mindful of the extra stress that acting typical can require for autistic people. More on this later. Don't expect typical social behavior. Autistic people might need to communicate differently than others. Allow them to be who they are and model this to employees in the workplace. Offer different modes of communication. Many autistic people are more comfortable writing than speaking. If possible, allow them to communicate in writing or another method they prefer. And be flexible with social expectations at work. Generally speaking, autistic people don't mind being invited to events, but let them know they're not being pressured to attend. Events that come with small talk and unexpected situations might not be preferable for autistic employees. Challenges in the workplace for autistic folks can begin as early as the interview stage. Autistic adults are often asked to conform to typical social norms in their job interviews, such as making direct eye contact. They might find vague or abstract questions confusing. This can be due to autistic folks' tendency for literal thinking, not because they're incapable of having a conversation or understanding questions. They also might want to prepare for a conversation in advance to predict which nonverbal cues, such as tone or body language, will be used, and often script a conversation in advance to deal with anxiety. So, what you can do is explain the interview process up front. Knowing what to expect will make an autistic employee much more comfortable. Use clear, specific questions. Vague questions might be taken literally by an autistic person, or they might not understand how to answer them. Stop worrying about eye contact. It is an outdated notion that an employee must make eye contact to be professional. Allow multiple formats for interviews. Some people prefer written questionnaires or video calls. If possible, make some of these methods available. Notice what happens during small talk, or avoid it altogether. If someone seems uncomfortable with small talk during the interview, then lessen or stop it altogether. A big decision for autistic adults in the workplace is whether to disclose their disability to their employer or not. Disclosure must be done to receive workplace accommodations under most company policies, but disclosure often opens the autistic person up to further discrimination, harassment, or career limitations. Over half of autistic adults experience workplace harassment after disclosing their disability. Disclosing often opens autistic people up to being infantilized, excluded, or treated with hostility after disclosure. They might be seen as less competent after disclosing their autism, regardless of their job performance. Sometimes people want to punish autistic people at work for having different needs, such as needing flexibility or a calming environment. Coworkers might even use autism as a reason to discredit the autistic employee or manipulate stories about them in the workplace. This can influence pay, promotions, and other issues at work. This can lead many autistic people to not disclose their disability, which can lead to employers not understanding why that employee needs accommodation. This can lead to a cycle of misunderstanding in which the autistic person underperforms due to a lack of accommodation, and the misconception continues. It can also lead to masking, which is intentionally hiding autistic traits. Masking can include mimicking allistic, which is non-autistic, behavior, hiding discomfort, and suppressing sensory issues. This can lead to stress, depression, and mental health problems for the autistic individual. It can also lead to burnout. In burnout, an autistic individual becomes physically and mentally exhausted, struggling to function. Overall, autistic employees stress that they want to feel supported as their true selves. When autistic folks feel more accepted at work, they feel less need to mask and are less stressed. In the past, I felt forced to mask in the workplace. I didn't feel my employer would be receptive to my diagnosis, so I felt compelled to hide it from my employer. After about 8 months with that employer, I could no longer hide my distress, and I had a meltdown at my workplace. I was subject to disciplinary action, and I didn't feel safe anymore there, and it led to me quickly quitting my job. So what to do? Don't pressure an employee to disclose. Disclosing is a choice and should only be done when an employee feels safe and ready. Ask the employee how they want to identify. Most autistic people identify identity first, which is autistic person, but some identify as person first, such as person with autism. Ask them what they prefer and use that language. Keep it confidential. Never share information about the diagnosis with anyone else unless permission is given by the employee. Normalize talking about autism, though. Be openly supportive of DEI and diversity policies in the workplace. This increases the likelihood that an employee will feel safe enough to ask for accommodations and disclose. Be supportive when they do disclose. Don't make assumptions about them. Ask what you can do to help. Provide information about accommodations and accommodation policies. Make sure that information is as clear as possible, preferably written. Proactively work with the employee to receive accommodations. Don't make them ask for it. And look for internalized biases after disclosure. Make sure other employees aren't treating the autistic employee as less capable, and look for this in yourself as well. So when offering accommodations, ask your employee what they need rather than what you think they need. Know that accommodations can and should be readdressed and reevaluated over time. Many times, autistic folks get initial support for accommodations, but that support tends to dwindle over time. Check in frequently to make sure those accommodations still work for the employee. Schedule employee-led meetings to see what's working and make sure the employee knows it's a support conversation, not a critical evaluation. Here are some common accommodations an autistic employee might seek. Flexible schedules and remote work. Clear expectations and instructions. Alternative communication options such as writing. Sensory-friendly environments such as lights, sounds, and smells that are good for them, noise-canceling headphones, quiet rooms, adjustable lighting. Trust that the autistic employee knows what they need. Creating a workplace and company culture that supports autistic employees is incredibly important. The Autism Self-Advocacy Network says that it starts with understanding the difference between awareness and acceptance. Often, autism awareness campaigns frame autism as a problem to be solved, while true autism acceptance campaigns require people to do the work to confront their prejudice about autism and autistic people. A sense of belonging is important to everyone, but it's especially true for the well-being of autistic people. Mental health in autistic adults improves when they feel truly accepted as they are, not forced to assimilate or be someone they're not. Promoting acceptance can make autistic employees truly feel safe at work. Cultivate a company culture of acceptance, inclusivity, and trust. Autistic employees can and do thrive in environments where they can be themselves without fear of backlash. Encouraging open dialogue and holding leaders accountable for inclusivity can help. Autism acceptance, not just tolerance, can help employees and their workplaces thrive.